Microphone check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4.
What's up? This is a 100% updated official, everything is gospel, and it's also okay, good.
What up, bro? How you doing?
Good, yeah.
Good. You guys ready to get rolling? You good? All right. Well, welcome, guys. Thanks for joining us here. Thanks for bringing Bronco Nation in today to be able to help us kick off our 2022 fall camp. We're excited to take the next step in our preparation for the season. It's been a tremendous summer. The guys have, through the work of Coach Kagi and our staff, our players working together, we've had a really good summer. We've built in a lot of ways that are very instrumental to our foundation in terms of building a foundation on mentality, confidence, consistency. We are able to establish that this summer. Again, we have a lot of work left to do in this fall camp, and we're excited to turn the page and move on to the next chapter in our preparation, but we're extremely excited about where we're at right now. Throughout the summer, not only has there been a ton of development with our roster from top to bottom, the old guys, the vets being here and starting way back in June, and our 8-week training session, and being able to not only physically develop, but like we spoke about, mentally develop. With the skill instruction and things like that, we're able to obviously do a little bit more technical work with our players and build that confidence within them to be able to execute those techniques and things that make the scheme in the long run. With our players returning from postseason surgeries, our offseason has gone tremendously well with those guys. We've been able not only to rehab and bring guys back to a level where they're going to be able to compete here in fall camp, and we'll run through that here shortly, but really excited about where the majority of the guys are. There will be very few guys that are returners that are limited as we enter fall camp here. So the competition level is going to be high. Players that will be limited early in camp, but we fully expect to be ready for the opener. Ty Jones has a lower leg that popped up here in the last couple weeks, so he was able to train all summer, but something that we're going to take care of here. In the next week, he'll be a little bit limited, but he will be ready for the opener. Riley Smith and Nohe, coming off shoulder injuries from last year, will only be slightly modified, but are ready to compete. And they've done an awesome job this summer with their training and their development. DeMadre, Merriweather, Eric McAllister, Roger Carrion, Cord Kringland, Taylor Markham, and Jack Beresford will be slightly limited as we enter camp here as well. Otherwise, the only update that we have for a guy that will not be ready is Cage Casey. As we work through the first few weeks of the season, he will get reintroduced to practice coming off a shoulder injury. OJ and Markel are ready to compete and have done an awesome job this summer preparing themselves, and we're excited to see them back out there on the field. Updates on the roster. We are sitting at 109 players right now. The guys that are no longer on the roster that we have not released or updated, we'll talk about and then move on further. We will only speak on players that are on our current roster and who we will build this team with moving forward. No longer on the roster is Jacob Golden. Alec Grant has been added to the roster at the beginning of the summertime. He is a long snapper that has done a nice job coming in, will provide depth and competition at the long snapper position. Justice Del Rio is a local kid here from Capitol High School that has joined the team, come back home, and will play safety for us. Leaving the roster will be Taquan Tyler. He will step away from the team due to personal reasons that we'll not further comment on, which obviously brings even more the question of the running back depth and competition, which we are excited about. We are sitting at 109 guys on the roster with a cap of 110. So we have the opportunity to add one more additional person to the roster, which we will update here soon. For this fall camp, our goals are to continue to grow the confidence to be able to prepare and train with a certain mentality. We've taken huge steps in that direction. The care factor of the team, the guys coming every single day to work with the level of consistency to create competition day in and day out. We've done a great job in the summertime, but now it comes time to put on the pads and have some fun as we come together in this camp on Wednesday. Number two, we want to establish a physical presence in the trenches. We want to build off of what we did at the end of last season. We've added personnel and depth to both sides of the ball. We've been able to train and work with these guys over the course, of the last 7-8 months, and we're extremely excited about the improvements we've made. It always starts up front. This is a physical game. The better we play in the trenches, the better our team plays. Creating explosive plays on both sides of the ball from an offensive standpoint, being able to protect the quarterback and be able to take shots down the field and mix in some creativity as we move up and down the field as well. Defensively, explosive plays are negative yardage plays or obviously takeaways, which the ultimate goal is to get the ball back to the offense and score. As we work through the course of this offseason, we spend a tremendous amount of time on situational football. That is always one of our top goals, is to create a football intelligence that the guys understand the intricacies of the game, whether that be field position, down and distance, clock situations, and all those things. We're excited about the growth we've had there, and obviously this camp is going to provide us a tremendous amount of opportunity to work our third down scenarios, to work our field position scenarios, whether it be in the red zone, the goal line area, being backed up, or being in the middle of the field in the open field. It is a big to-do as well to obviously be able to operate within 2-minute situations on both sides of the ball, and not only on offense and defense, but on special teams. We're excited about the roster that we have developed. We're looking forward to this final stage in preparation. We're excited to have you guys out there and be able to cover practice and how the guys are doing for Bronco Nation. We're really looking forward to taking this next step and attacking this challenge in the next couple of weeks. And with that, I'll open it up for further questions.
The running back depth, and we talked about that today. How do you feel about the three there? And I don't know if
Right.
you said you were going to add one, that's the position.
Yep, and we will shortly. There's always a plan. It's a work in progress right now, and we feel very confident about a new addition coming in. But at the running back position right now with George Ashton T. Crow, we've moved Caden Dudley from slot wide receiver to running back, who has had experience playing that position in high school, and something that we had even kicked around prior to the situation coming up, as well as having Ethan Makita and Taylor Markham, our freshmen, that are going to join the team and add depth there. So as always, the final stage here is to create depth. And as we talk about all the time, is dependable depth. We're excited about the competition that we have in there. It's not so much the run game as it is building, even with the young guys, is the protections. That's the difficulties and the experience and the reps that it takes. So we must be extremely diligent with the walkthroughs that we get to further develop those groups, playing with the O-line and walkthroughs and seeing different looks from a protection standpoint and building those guys' confidence through repetition.
Compared to this time last year, do you guys feel like you're more prepared as a team?
Oh, without question. It's not even worth comparing. It's not worth talking about. I mean, that's our confidence, not only from the standpoint of having the depth, you need to practice a certain way to build the confidence and the mentality day in and day out. And again, it comes down to our whole staff, how we recruited, how we've developed, how the guys have prepared and trained over the course of the summertime. In the summertime, it's not spring ball. It's not fall camp. It's not iron sharpens iron from an offensive defensive perspective. It's a team working together. It's a team training together. And we're really excited about the approach that our guys have taken, the things that they've shown here this summer. Now, obviously, we've got a lot of work left to do, but we feel good about the point we're at.
Kind of a simple question. What's the level of excitement as you guys are about to really kick this thing off on Wednesday? And it's outside already for you too.
It's finally here. You put in all this hard work. You work more than half the year to get to this point for this final stage of preparation. And really, this is where it all comes together. And for us to have moved the needle so far ahead of, again, where we were last year to where we're at now in all phases, it's been tremendous. I think our guys' confidence because of that, is way further along in what to expect, what the standard is, and meeting that standard. And their care factor to meet that standard every single day is beyond what it has been.
I don't necessarily mean like weight room, but maybe whether it be team building, you talk about the history of this place. Is there anything like that you guys did this offseason you feel like was of value?
I think it was all centered. The main focus is competition and the consistency of that, and being able to compete in different settings, whether it's the team competing as a whole, whether it's competing by position groups, whether they get their opportunity to go work PRPs and then competing against each other. But the biggest thing is being able to work, through our unity groups and be able to build the trust, the accountability outside of our side of the ball, outside of our position groups, being able to do things away from the facility. Obviously, the COVID protocols have loosened up a little. So the amount of time that we get to spend away from our players outside the facility, that's unbelievable. Because at the end of the day, having a real appreciation for each other, a real care for each other, knowing that we're all people and we're all in this together, that's the fun part of college football. And so being able to get to do more of those things, whether it's floating the river, whether it's having guys over to our house, different competitions. Okay, I'm not the best golfer, and that's probably a good sign, but being able to get out there and hit some golf balls with some of these guys. No more questions on that incident, okay?
As you get to see, some of the guys coming in, during the
Well, that's, they're in shorts and t-shirt right now, right? So the guys competing for playing time, I think we'll have a much better idea. Let's answer that question once we put some pads on here in a couple days, and because it's a different speed of game, it's a different physicality. But through the course of the summer, we're extremely blessed to have these freshmen joining our team. There wasn't a single guy late out of this freshman group for the 5 weeks they were here training from the end of June to right now. Not a single guy was late. That's a huge, huge sign of accountability and how they're showing up every day. There hadn't been a freshman group that jumped in there and ran every single one of the decks with the veterans and got themselves caught up like this freshman group did. So collectively as a whole, we're not going to single anybody out right now, but as a whole group, we're blessed to have these young men here, from who they are as people to how they're competing to how they want to grow themselves into the expectations and the standards. And now that's not just them, that's the older guys taking care of them too. They all have Bronco brothers that are showing them the way, that help them. We all remember when we were freshmen and going into college is some of the most difficult times of our lives.
Most years, naming the starting quarterback is a big part of fall camp. This could be a year where you already know who your starting quarterback is. For a quarterback, is there value to that, knowing that it's their job on day one of camp versus having to compete for that job?
Every day is a competition, and that's the approach we take. But obviously for us, having a quarterback that has a tremendous amount of game experience and coming back to lead our offense is a huge, huge plus. Being the second year in the system, watching Hank operate, not only when we're on the field, but him being able to operate and lead meetings now and walk through scenarios and situations. Not only did his teammates get to see how well prepared he is prior to us getting on the field, but for the overall team to know that we have a guy coming back that is, worked his tail off and competed all offseason. Now it's time to put a body of work together.
What do you think the biggest benefit is for Hank? First time in his career that he's had an offensive coordinator in 2 years. What's the biggest benefit you think starting today with the same guy?
Well, outside of the scheme and all those things, it's about creating a rhythm with working together as a team. Those guys work so closely together, having the rhythm of what an offense coordinator prepares or installs an offense, and being able to get in that rhythm with the coordinator to be able to be out in front of things. I mean, even outside of the X's and O's and the schemes, and not only knowing the plays but handling it in the pre-snap and all those things, it's reps, it's experience, right? Obviously on the field, experience is everything. Experience is being able to learn from good or bad and then be able to apply going forward. And we have tremendous amount of experience around Hank. So I think that's the biggest thing for Hank too, is just banking these reps with these guys.
You got competition across the field. Is there a position battle or two that your eyes going to be focused on that you see as being really important to win those spots?
Well, on the defense side of the ball, like we talked about, the will linebacker position, right? There will be serious competition there, and we're excited about the guys we have. And it doesn't just start, when we get on the field here on Wednesday. It's been since, the beginning of the summertime. So we have, obviously you guys haven't got to see all those things take place through the course of the summer, but this competition at our linebacker positions, and not only that, but building depth behind Zeke, is a big deal. We talked about some of the adjustments in the secondary when, to some look difficult, but for us, being that they're on the same side of the field, are interchangeable. So the competition to build the depth at the field side positions, whether it be nickel, whether it be field safety, and then at the corner position, we're confident. Like we said, Markel's ready to come back with LaBeouf, Caleb, JC. And we feel like we have 4 corners. We got Nohi. We got a list of guys there that are going to compete at corner. And every single day that breeds competition. That's the coach's best friend.
Going back to Mark Hendricks, this school, this program has had a long history of quarterbacks in their senior year having really, really good seasons. What are the expectations? Where are the expectations for Hank Bachmeier to be better this year?
Just the things we were talking about. It's what we focus on, Mike, all throughout the course of the year. We weren't going to get to this point and throw expectations on Hank, Sam, or TG. It's all the same. There's a body of growth that needs to take place. And number one, it always starts at that position. You're not just leading yourself. You're not just leading a O-line room. You're not just leading a running backs room. You're leading an offense. You're leading a team. And that comes with great preparation and commitment to development, to spending time. And our team is as close as it's ever been right now. We can share things with each other. We can be real with each other, and we can have the confidence to create solutions and move forward. And he's been a big part of that all throughout the offseason.
I won't ask you about your golf game, but where are you better as a football coach? Where are you more prepared to be a football coach in your second year?
You know what the biggest thing is again, being able to create a consistency of competition through communication, clear and concise communication, showing people that we care and that we're working together collectively as a whole team. And I think that has raised, how guys show up every day, the urgency. That has been the biggest piece. Being through it, just no different than Hank experienced, right? Learning from different things that happened last year, being able to learn and apply from logistics of running an operation through all the way through practices, how we handle what are left of the COVID protocols and everything in between, from how we grow the team's mentality to how we play in the red zone. We can write a book on it at this point.
You mentioned the word compete a bunch. Can you explain what does that mean in terms of a day-to-day thing? How do you get guys to compete on a day-to-day, every day?
When they walk in these meetings and they sat in these meeting rooms, a couple guys got questions answered bright and early this morning at 7 a.m. They walk into a team meeting. We're going to test them so that we can compete and see where's our accountability on the knowledge that we put forth in the last meeting. When they walk into their position meetings, they're going to compete. We're going to find out where we're at so we can measure their football intelligence, their ability to listen and learn. They walk into the weight room from the jump start, even before a warm-up. We're going to train them to always be on and be ready to have a sense of urgency that is going to allow them to attack whatever the challenge is. Everything from pop quizzes, and it can be on fun stuff, or it can be on information shared in the previous meeting, to be able to see, again, this game is about development and growth, and it's not just physical, it's mental. And how well are we going to prepare consistently? If we aren't testing them to see how they're competing in here, then they will never know the standard that it takes to be consistent in our preparation.
Kind of along those lines, every time we asked about Khalil last year, it was everything that he was as a person, his preparation, and all that stuff. So, now that he's not here, who's the person that sets the tone?
In that room or in general?
I mean, clearly, Khalil was the entire room, probably. So, in general, I guess.
Yeah. So, I mean, the guy that's trained right alongside of him, Davis Cutter, does an unbelievable job with his approach every day, his preparation, his training. OJ has always been phenomenal. I mean, the way OJ prepares and trains, he's one of those guys that you got to pull him back because he's going to go. And I would say that there's no difference. I mean, George, Steph, Billy Bowens, the way these guys operate each and every day, Kay Connie. On the offensive side of the ball, it's a force multiplier now in what it looks like. And it's not just in one position group, it's in all of them. Again, in lieu to how we trained, some of the things that we implemented that raised the level of urgency that it takes to be here every single day.
Mike mentioned you going into year 2 as a head coach. After last season, was there a mentor or two that you reached out to for advice about going into your second year and kind of building on that first season?
Yeah, I mean, there are a few defensive head coaches, that I reached out to that actually were in. One of them was in his first year, and we're not going to go into names and all that, but one of them was coming out of his first year of being a head coach, going into his second year, and so instantly, was able to spend some time visiting with him, the things that he reflected on, the things that he learned. And I think those times are not only at the end of the year, but it's all the way throughout the year. We're constantly evaluating some of the things, whether it be, again, from a logistics standpoint and not just organizing and running a defense, but organizing an organization and how we bring everything together to create a clear expectation and standard and how we have fun executing that every single day. And the goal is that when everybody walks into this building every day, they're confident about what they need to get done that day, and they're excited to do it.
In the 7 months or whatever that Keith Bonifaz been back, what have you noticed in terms of his impact on that run back?
Yeah, there's no question. He brings a wealth of experience in all this time doing this. His ability to develop, his ability to teach the game extremely clear, to bring people together. Um, I think those are big things. It's not always about the X's and O's, but it's about the ability to bring people together through experience of being a part of great organizations, great teams, and being able to help apply that here. It's been a big part of his impact in the last couple of years, and obviously on special teams, there's very few special teams meetings that lack energy and players being locked in and bought into what we're doing.
Closer, you guys. I know we see you two at the basketball games a lot together. I know you mentioned how you got the job. He called you about a resume or something. Just how close is your guys' relationship?
Well, I mean, it goes way back. It goes way back 10 years, when we were here together and we were kind of in the same stages where, we were married, but no kids and those things. And even all along, we stayed pretty close, whether it's out on the recruiting trails. We've always typically recruited the same areas. So we would help each other and we'd roll around and recruit together. And that didn't last very long though. When I was at Oregon and he was at UW, it doesn't work that way. So, but it was awesome when we were able to get back together, and it's unbelievable how many things that he's learned and he's experienced over the course of the years, and be able to learn from each other and share our experiences and be able to build something from those.
When you hit the field on Wednesday, will there be a pecking order between Reed and Bidlack?
They'll mix it up. They'll mix it up, Mike, each and every day.
Both will get a chance to be number two.
Yeah. And we're going to wide open competition. So we'll mix it up with those guys. And, that's something right there. Like those two young men have been awesome. You guys will see when you get your opportunities that those two young men, number one, they work extremely hard. They're very diligent. Again, no different than Hank for TG. It's his second year in the system. He understands the flow of which things are implemented so that he can create his own rhythm. And it's been really cool to see not only his confidence and Sam's confidence grow, but obviously the players around them, their confidence to grow in those two young men.
Last year you guys were 7-5. We know that's not the standard Boise State football. On Wednesday, you guys are, you hit the reset button 0-0. How do you keep in mind about how you balance what you guys have accomplished here in the past while also trying to move forward and be you and grow this program more than it ever has before?
Well, again, I mean, we're always focused on what's right in front of us right now. And right now for us, the next stage is to continue to build off of what we learned last year. And it doesn't reset on Wednesday, but we started this year back in January. So that's kind of a hard question to ask, because it's not like we just flipped the switch right now and here we go. This has been a work in progress since January, and reestablishing this foundation to the things that we know that have been true to this program for a long time. And it's fun to see the players lead those things. And that's how I will answer, is the things that we were trying to get refocused on to be a staple, a foundation within this program that helped build all this. The players are leading it now. So the experience, obviously being within this business and then stepping away for a few years, this game is growing and changing. There's a lot of different moving parts within this game now. We're probably in an era of college football where there's been more rule change, whether it's on the field, off the field, in recruiting, and you guys know everything else that we're not talking about, right? So that there's for someone to be able to direct all the external operations that feed into this program, and obviously the things that go outside of our building. And so it's been awesome to be able to have him back here and help lead that area of our organization. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, a freshman linebacker, there's a lot going on from the standpoint of you have to run the defense. You've got to be able to make pre-snap calls. There's a lot, and he's got a very high football IQ. We've been extremely impressed with that. As we always say, unfortunately, when you leave high school and you go to college, so you leave the stars in high school too. So his body of work will get to help him develop and see as we move along here. But he is a very smart football player that has a bunch of talent that is just going to take reps, Jay, like anything else. The speed of this game is going to be a lot faster, especially, as we start moving in and the freshmen aren't just going against themselves and they start adding in with some of the older guys. That's where it's really going to pick up. So only time will tell here, but we're really excited about where he's at.
Center last year, we were hoping Kekani would be able to play last year. What do you think he brings to this team and this offensive line? If you look at like returning starters, he doesn't count, but I thought he played extremely well the year before. So what's he going to do for the line?
The O-line's different when Kekani's in there. Number one, his leadership is impeccable. He is the rock in the middle of that offensive line. He, not only from a leadership standpoint, but he is an extremely smart football player. His father's a football coach, so it's family business. He gets the game. He loves the game. He's a student of the game. He'll be a coach. He'll probably be wearing one of these polos one day. But then from the standpoint of how competitive he is and his mentality up front as a player, it's a tremendous plus, obviously, to have Kekani in the middle of that offensive line.
Butch Henry's the guy that's kind of some security around here. Butch Henry?
Yes.
The guy who runs security. I'm curious, how much interaction do you have with
Butch is fired up right now. We got a Butch Henry question. Let's go. That's my guy. Well, if we can get him back from the coast, he's been fishing on the Oregon coast. So I don't know. We're gonna have to see.
Yesterday said he's excited for practice. So, but what does it mean to you to have a former Bronco here still in the program? A guy who won a national title in 1980.
No, it's a big deal. I'll tell you like this, his impact from the standpoint of what he brings every day, the vibes, the positivity, the expectations, though, of what it is to work hard, not only as a football player, but Butch obviously has gone on beyond outside of football and been tremendously successful because of his work ethic. And obviously his positive impact on people around him. And so we're blessed to have him here every day. Hopefully he gets back from the Oregon coast and we get him back guarding the gate. All done. Thank you guys. Appreciate you guys. Those.
What is your just excitement level for camp starting on Wednesday?
Fired up, really excited. That's the best part about coaching is camp gets started and everybody comes back. It's fresh. Everybody's 0-0. So I think as a coach, you love the teaching aspect of camp. Every day is a chance to teach and have the guys improve. So really excited about that.
Compared to last year, how much further are you guys ahead as an offense?
Yeah, I think there's just like the things you maybe take for granted a little bit the first go around, whether that's formations or just the verbiage or things that take a little bit longer, just don't take as long this time because the guys have had ample time to learn that. And I think they're really hungry to improve on last year, and that's been shown already just in our summer workouts and everything. So definitely ahead of where we were a year ago.
You guys mentioned in the spring just wanting to get better at, third down conversions and red zones and stuff. When you're coming into a fall camp, do you switch things like in your team period and how you do things to maximize that, or kind of keep it the same, just do it more maybe?
I think there's two parts, right? Like initially you got to look at, things that you want to improve throughout spring ball and then into the summer, whether that be situational football like you mentioned or whatever. And then there'll be a point in the middle of camp where everything's been installed and, you're kind of self-scouting through camp and deciding like, hey, we still need some more work at the red zone, or we still need some more work at backed up, or let's do a couple more run periods or whatever that is. So you're always trying to look at, hey, this is what we're doing well. This is what we still need to improve on. Hopefully you got, your month to get everything in so that you feel really confident going into the season at all those situations.
Backup quarterback battle. How do you look at that going?
Yeah, I think, both guys competed really well in spring and no one really separated themselves in that. So I think they both deserve an equal opportunity reps wise to show what they can do. And I've always thought coaching quarterbacks that if you can move the second group, that actually shows more than moving the first group, right? So whoever can consistently move that group and take care of the football and create explosive plays, we're going to let those guys battle it out there and see where that plays out.
Tim, how have you worked on Hank this summer? What's been kind of the theme of you and Hank getting better this summer, getting on the same page? Where's his mind at going into camp for his senior year?
I think he's extremely hungry. I think he understands, the great opportunity he's had to play and start for 3 years, but also just the downs that have come with that, whether it be injuries or, having a tough game, having to deal with the scrutiny of playing the position. I think he's excited to challenge that and go after it and compete with that. But I also think he knows that he's fully capable of doing that, just building his confidence in what we're doing offensively. He's extremely intelligent. He's got a great feel for what we want to do. So I just want him to feel confident, let it rip, not hold anything back and lead us, but he's got to lead himself before he leads the whole group. I think he's improving in all those aspects.
Obviously, you want to get better physically, but how much have you guys, or how much has he worked on, or his team, or whoever's around him in terms of just getting rid of the clutter and being sharp in the mind and being confident, like you said?
Yeah, I think it starts first with, him making choices to maybe put in the extra effort or the extra stuff that a lot of guys aren't willing to do. And in this offense, with as much freedom as we give the quarterback, not having that before, first go around, he's just trying to learn the offense. Now he knows the offense really well. Now he can put in the extra time on maybe the detail things that someone with the amount of freedom he has that can help him. But there's little things that happen when you have that much time together where, whether it's a random day and they're out there throwing in the summer, or maybe they weren't doing that last year because they were still learning the offense. Now they're putting in extra work, getting timing with each other. So I think there's just little things like that a senior quarterback, he knows that the clock's ticking. He wants to play really well for his team and leave a lasting impact that's positive. I think that's really his hope, is he can do that for the team first and then obviously himself.
Obviously, no starter's been named. It seems like it's Hank's job. As a quarterback, is there value to coming to a camp knowing it's your job versus having to compete for that job?
I think if you're a quarterback and you don't come to camp thinking it's your job, then you're coming with the wrong mindset anyway, whether you're Maddox Madsen or Hank Bachmeyer. You should walk in here every day and say I'm the starter and operate that way. So it really shouldn't matter what I say or who's on the depth chart, or you should come in here saying this is my job and I'm going to prove it every single day.
Are you going into camp? I know it's competition that things could change, but are you going into camp thinking it's OJ, Curran, Cage, G, Dooley, and Kincaid?
I do think there's a separation between maybe 6 or 7 guys right now at the offensive line spot. Obviously, I think OJ is a guy that's earned the chance to be the left tackle, and he's proven that. And, I think that's similar for some of the other guys, but there's definitely not a set 5. Like there's probably 6 or 7 guys that we feel really good putting in a game, and then they can play multiple spots. So it's just figuring out who the 5 of the 7 would be. But I would say OJ is a guy, obviously, that should feel pretty confident about that. And we feel confident in him being the leader of this team, especially offensively.
The other 2 would Will, and then who would be your 7?
Yeah, Will definitely would be part of that 7. I think we feel really good about where Mason Randolph has grown as a player in the spring. We'd like to see what he can do. I think Dallas Holiday is a guy we'd like to see continue. I think those guys are guys that have been here long enough, have gotten the reps, veteran guys that we really hope can give us the depth we really need at those positions.
You mentioned OJ. Where have you seen him grow the most during your time here?
I don't know if you can get much better than that guy is mentally. His approach on a daily basis should be something that every player strives to have. I mean, he just comes here prepared every day to compete at an extremely high level. We're doing winter workouts. He's on month 3 of a shoulder surgery, and we're doing these competitions with our team. And he's got his unity group that he's with. He's not even allowed to really do much, but we're doing sled pushes, and he's pushing it with one arm, right, and leaving his bad arm out of it. And we're trying to hold him back, and he's saying, why can't I do this? Because I'm not using my bad arm. You know, he's not going to let one day go by without getting the most out of that day. That's why he's going to reach his full potential. And as a coach, you think of players' talent as like this bucket, and you want to scoop every ounce of talent out of that bucket. And as a player, you probably want to get to the end of your career and say, I got every single ounce out of the bucket. You know, OJ, when he's done playing football, whenever that is, he'll be very confident knowing that he got every single ounce of ability out of himself. That's because of his approach every single day.
You said that, maybe your players get more out of the day because they're not so focused on learning what you want to do on offense, and now they can actually go out and practice. To switch that around on you, how much better are you now for having like almost a year and a half with these guys, knowing them? How much better are you for your connections to have with your players?
Yeah, I feel like I've grown and learned a lot in the last year too, which is really one of the biggest hopes you have as a coach, is that every day you're learning and getting better. Otherwise, why are you doing it? And you should be humble enough to know you don't have all the answers. So learned a lot last year. We had to overcome a lot of things. Some things we did really well, and some things I wish we could have done better as a staff and as a coordinator. But that's also, I'm very grateful for those opportunities. I find joy in that challenge. I'm really excited to come back this year and do it again. So I think it's just, there's a big picture thing, right? Like you're moving your family, you're more comfortable now after being here for a year. You're getting to know everybody on the staff, getting to know kind of the mindset of the team and how that fits with the offense. There's just a lot of things that it's hard to do that first year. Do I think we could have done it better? Absolutely. But it is what it is, and we've learned from it, and hopefully we can take the positive steps to get better this season.
What are you most excited for?
I'm just excited to teach, excited to be a teacher, excited to build a progression that creates a strong mentality in our offense. I know the guys are really excited to do that too. I think we took some valuable strides in spring. We're going against a tremendous defense every single day. We know if we can move the ball against them, we can move the ball against anybody. So I'm just excited to teach those guys, watch them perform, and then be able to help them get better in the next few months, so that we have a chance to be our best in September.
What are your expectations for the wide receiver group? Tons of catches and yards or in Buffalo right now. So
Yeah.
how does somebody emerge as maybe the pecking order of the wide receiver? Take us through what you're expecting between now and September 3rd for them.
You're not going to replace Shaq. If everyone in here is trying to replace him, you're not going to find him. He's not showing up, and that's okay. We don't want another Shaq. We want the first Billy Bowens or the first Davis Cutter or the first Latrell Caples or the first Steph Cobbs, right? Those guys should not try to be him. They should just be the best version of themselves. I think that when you have a great player like that, sometimes it can create anxiety, but I really am happy with the wide receiver room. I think Coach Miller's done a great job. I think that'll be more by committee just in general until those guys begin to separate and make more plays consistently. But they're going to have that opportunity because the ball is going to go, it's going to spread around. I actually think it makes it in a weird way sometimes easier when you don't have a great player like that, because as coaches and as players, you're thinking constantly, how do we get in the ball? How do we get in the ball? And sometimes that can take you away from just going through your progression and going through your normal play.
You've got 3 redshirt seniors at tight end. How much can that experience alone be a safety valve for your quarterbacks?
I think that's a position where we've got to improve the most. And that's a position where I've got to do a much better job as a coordinator, using those guys and getting them the football. You know, someone like Riley Smith is a tremendous player that needs to be utilized a lot better than we did a year ago. I think we're all aware of that. Some of that comes from the struggles we had on the offensive line. And if you want to keep more people in to protect, that's usually going to be the tight end. That's how they're going to lose opportunities. So we're hoping we've improved in all those areas to help those guys get the ball more and get more touches. I do love the fact that we have 3 guys with game experience that can play both the Y and H positions and do them really well. And Coach Potter's a tremendous coach, and I think having him just back in the facility and back with the program is awesome. He brings a great mentality to that room and to our offense, and it's been cool to watch them grow.
How much emphasis will there be on the red zone in fall camp, and
Where do you want to get better with?
You know, that's probably, other than the run game, which we know improved in the second half of the season, Mike, but we've got to get better as a whole in the run game. I think the second part is definitely the red zone. You can say whatever you want about the offense, things you like or don't like. The truth is we led the country and made field goals, right? So if you cut that number down, instead of making 26 field goals, let's say he makes 17 or 18, right? That's 8 touchdowns. You add that to the total of the year, and I bet we all are sitting here thinking if we scored 8 more touchdowns, we might have won some more games. So I think if you simplify it down, we got to be better in the run game, more consistent there, and then we got to finish drives with touchdowns. Even though we have a fantastic kicker, he'd be the first one to say, let's make less and score some more touchdowns down there, and I think that'll help us.
With the running game, just against the running back room in particular, you know, they lost Tyler. It sounds like maybe there's going to be an addition. I don't know. But how do you look at the depth there and having to try to keep George healthy, and then behind George, how confident you are with that?
Yeah, the offense starts with George. It runs through him. The statistics bear out, right? When he plays and gets 100 yards, I think our numbers are pretty good as a team. But we've got to keep him healthy. We've got to keep him in a position where he can play 12, 13, 14, 15 games. That's going to fall on him too, being mature enough to know how to handle his body to keep himself healthy. After George, you know, I think the positive is you got a guy like Tyler Crow that took a lot of snaps last year in crucial situations and did a great job. And then we're hoping that we can obviously have a couple other guys step up and help us build depth there. It's definitely a room where we need to build some depth. Feel great about George. We know what Crow can do. Want to keep growing him, but we're going to need another guy or two to help us with that room.
How do you keep George healthy? Do you guys have to come up with a specific plan on when you can turn him loose and when you just got to dial it back? Or?
Yeah, I mean, in camp, right, like I think we all don't need to see George go in live settings, right? Like I think we know George is pretty good. So it's more about how do we get him the touches he needs within the skeleton of practice that allows him to get in the rhythm he needs to get just without putting the wear and tear on his body and still build his conditioning the right way. There's a sweet spot there. We're going to be working as a full staff to make sure that's right. But it was tough last year. You know, you get in 6 or 7 games and he can only go 30 snaps in a game, right? So that clock's ticking from when the game starts, when the game ends. Like, how are we going to get him his 30 snaps, you know, when he's on a pitch count like that? We got to be in situations where there's no pitch count. He can go, and we can get him the ball the 25-plus times we need to so that we can be a successful offense. You know, if he's on a pitch count, that puts us all in a spot where we got to decide when we're going to use him, when we're not, and that makes things hard. I don't know if that's probably the case. I'm sure we'll find some situational football. You don't want that to be the very first time, but do I think he's going to be getting a lot of tackle reps in fall camp? Probably not. He's an NFL running back, in my opinion, but he's got to do it consistently, right? The only abilities that are going to be looked at that level and at this level that matter are your availability and your dependability. So he needs to be available. I think when he's available, he'll be as good as anybody in the country.
You mentioned Tyler. Where does Ashton fit in? Is he and Tyler competing for number 2? Or, I mean, how much do you want to push Ashton this year?
Yeah, I think he's the fact that you can have guys enroll early has been a huge bonus for him. He's one of those guys that showed up, and I think even though he's a younger guy, his body is already matured to the point where he can probably handle playing at this level. So we expect him to contribute for sure. How much is going to be up to him and KB getting, you know, the knowledge of the offense and feeling comfortable with things. But he's an explosive guy that hopefully we can get to the point where he can definitely get some running games. That's our hope for sure.
Two guys we haven't, seen much of, Billy Bowens and Latrell Caples. Heard they had great springs. What are their greatest assets?
Well, Billy's got the ability to take the top off the defense. He's one of the faster guys on the team, very explosive. And there were times last year where we didn't take advantage of that enough. So he's definitely a guy you can put on the outside, and if they leave him with no safety help, he can get behind people. But I think he's a good route runner too. He's a diligent worker, really smart kid. I think he's in line to have a great season. Latrell Caples is a competitor, probably one of the greater competitors we have on the team. Has that will to be his best every single day. Similar to George, his shortcomings just been availability. We got to keep him healthy. I think if he's able to play 12, 13, 14 games, I think he'll have a great season and play multiple spots within the receiver room.
You mentioned you had a previous relationship, but what impact has Dirk Cutter had on you and the staff since he joined as an analyst?
Yeah, I don't think you can put really in words how important Coach Cutter's been to our staff. Probably more personal to me. Really good dude. I think he saw some of the struggles we had a year ago, and no one knows that better than another offensive coordinator that knows maybe some of the shortcomings we're having or some of the things we're trying to overcome. But we talked to each other when the season was over. Andy lined that up, and hey, where do you want to get better? What can I help with? I think just the humility of a guy that's coached for that long at that level with that amount of success, to have the humility to come in and sit down with, a guy like me, just speaks to the man. So care a lot about him. Very thankful for him. Any improvement I think we have offensively, he definitely has a lot of fingertips on those things.
So do you use him almost as a sounding board?
Yeah, I think you use him in a lot of ways. I think some stuff is – there's not a play in football he hasn't run before, right? Or he probably invented half of them. So it's just like, hey, what do you think about this play and the split? How do we do the protection on this play? Or, hey, if we're going to run the ball out of this formation, what are some things you think about? Or game planning, play calling. I think he's a wide array of knowledge that anyone would be crazy not to sit down and ask. Sometimes I feel bad because I, ask him so many things. But I'm going to take advantage of that every time he's around. When he's not playing golf, I'm going to make sure he's here and bug him for as many things as I can.
What is the best part of Sam's game? Obviously, he doesn't have the dual threat ability, but what is, kind of elevated him in this competition so good?
Sam has what I'd like to call the rage to master. So I've coached a couple good quarterbacks in the past, and they all had this quality called a rage to master, which is like he has a deep burn inside of him to know everything. And he has a deep burn to be really good. I think any quarterback that has that, as long as they have the patience to go with it, will end up being really good. So I think he has that. He's an accurate kid, was a baseball kid growing up, so he can throw off multiple platforms. Even though his stature isn't gigantic, he's got a really, really big arm. So real smart kid, tough kid. We're lucky to have him, definitely to bring depth and competition to that room.
Because of what Taylor can do with his legs and some of the dynamics he can do. Is there a weird question? Is there a scenario where Sam's number 2, but yet Taylor's the one that could get some packages and stuff?
Yeah, I think you look at those guys, and everyone in that room is a little bit different, right? So it's our job as an offense to create an offense that can fit all three of those guys. Taylor Green's offense would not be similar to Hank Bachmeier's offense, right? Because we got to do things that's going to, bring his talents to light. Taylor is as talented as anyone I've ever coached at the position. He didn't come with the same maybe structure and foundation in the teaching that some other guys had. So it's just taking him a little bit longer to learn those things. But once he learns it, I think he's going to be as good as anybody with as strong of an arm as he has, but he can be accurate. And like you said, he's one of the faster guys on the team. So that's another element that coaches have to deal with that we'd be crazy not to explore, right, during the season like we did last year. If we find something where teams struggle with that, I think getting him in the game, he's going to be one of our better athletes with the ball. So finding ways to do that is definitely something we've thought about.
What things does he need to improve structure-wise?
I think he just has to get more consistent as a thrower from the pocket. It's easy when you're that big and that talented and you run close to 22 miles an hour. Like if the first read's not there, he can take off and outrun everybody on the field and get a positive gain. But as you guys see, like in some of these scrimmages, he's not live. So it's really frustrating for him. Like someone kind of gets near him and throws an arm out and they call him down. In his mind, he's like, that's a 20-yard run. But I think the positive of that is it's forcing him to know, like, hey, I'm taking your legs out of this, Taylor. We're not going to let you run. Learn how to do this from the pocket, and don't use that talent as a crutch. Just use it as a weapon when it becomes available to you. And once he learns how to harness all that, he's going to be pretty undefendable.
Obviously has confidence in his physical or athletic ability, but how do you build that confidence between the years and that part of the game?
He just needs reps, right? I mean, I think anyone that hasn't had as many reps needs to be out there with a rush and feel what it's like to be in the pocket and complete passes and not lean so heavily on his running ability that he misses opportunities. And then if you run every play, right, you're going to take more hits. So it's just, I care so much about him. I want to teach him the things that's going to allow him to be great within the pocket, because we all of us know that he's going to be great out of the pocket. But if he can learn how to do those things from the pocket half the time, the other half of the time, when he does get out of the pocket, good luck to everybody trying to tackle him.
We'll talk about Jordan not having contact. Somebody like Green, do you let them go live more because to me, you can't get practice in a game if you don't have practice.
There's definitely things we've discussed before about, maybe making guys like him live in a scrimmage or two. But again, what's the negative of that, right? We look like morons if he gets hurt. So I think you can find ways to get him those reps without making him live. It's just more about feeling the rush and knowing what it's like to throw from the pocket. And I think the more and more he gets, the more confident he's going to get. But he's another great player. We're very lucky to have him. I'm really happy with the depth in that room with all those guys.
What makes Davis such an effective leader?
Well, the guy's been around one of the best offensive coaches of the last 30 plus years. That's his dad, right? So he's got an advantage over a lot of the other guys in the room. He just knows football at a different level. He played quarterback too. So I think any receiver that's played quarterback before, you can tell that they have a better understanding of coverage and where the ball is going to go. I think he's a tough kid. He's one of our better special teams players, plays on all the special teams. He's just one of those unique guys that does everything right, and he knows that he kind of has to be successful. So, again, he can play every position at wideout on the offense. He could probably sit in the quarterback room and tell you the reads just as good as Hank. And he can play on all four special teams. Those guys are glue guys, right? Like, those guys bring your whole team together. So, very lucky to have him.
Sounds like George might do some special teams and some returning this year. You for or against that?
I'm for George touching the ball. I think one of the rooms that we have a lot of depth is wideout, and we've kind of talked about today. One of the rooms we don't have a lot of depth is running back. One of the things we always talk about as a staff led by Andy is just we want guys to have opportunities. So we just thought like he wasn't going to get a lot of opportunities to play in the slot with the guys that were ahead of him at this point in his career. He was a great safety in high school and did a lot of the running things in high school. And just the way he's built, I've had guys in the past that maybe came in as a wideout, they moved to running back. I know you guys can think of some great players here that started at wideout and moved to running back. So excited to see him just get some opportunity, get some reps. And I think he can do some different things there once he learns the package, understands what to do, and we'll make sure he's ready to go out there. We're not just going to throw him out there and see, sink or swim. We'll make sure he's prepared and get him some reps. That's definitely a guy we talked about. That's definitely the guy that we brought up. Like, hey, this is an example of what can happen to a guy that starts as a wideout, goes to running back. So there's a documentary, and the name is escaping me right now. But it's a documentary where they talk about just raising excellent athletes. I'll text you later. But it's like it's got like Jerry Rice and Wayne Gretzky and Rocky Marciano. Just tells the stories of how all these athletes became excellent athletes, and they all had the rage to master.
Steph Cobb's kind of showed his big playability last season. As a play caller, how do you maximize that this year?
I think Static's one of those guys again that has a tremendous ability to get on top of the defense, but his route running was at a high level last year too. Again, he banged up his shoulder halfway through the year, and so I think after Colorado State, he was playing with one arm basically. So again, with him, it's just staying healthy so that he can be available and be at his best. But anytime you got a guy like that, you want to move him around, get him on some matchups that you can, use his speed to his advantage. But also, if you can get him in a one-on-one scenario, feel confident about him winning on most routes in the tree. Thanks, everybody. Good to see you.
Juan Soto to the Padres.
Who you guys want?
How you guys doing today? It's a little somber in here.
Trying to get into game mode.
Jeez.
Been a long summer.
We haven't lost any games yet. Just kidding.
So Spence, George Tarles, in terms of his personality and what he can do on the field, what does he add to his roster?
He has a ton and a lot of more things than just his play on the field. One of the hardest workers I've been around, especially an older guy. He understands what it takes to get ready for a game. He understands the amount of work it's going to take from the film room to the field. And he's a guy that's one of the first ones here in the morning, one of the last ones to leave. And it's just cool seeing him even bring some of the younger guys in that position room along. And so he's been an absolute joy just to see his growth, even from spring to what he's done this summer. I'm excited for him to have a great fall camp.
Can you break down the competition of Will linebacker?
No, great question. It is a competition that we're going to continue to see throughout fall camp. So you're going to have a couple different guys you're going to see competing there. You're going to see DJ Schramm, who's played primarily Mike linebacker for us. Obviously, those two are very they swing. You're going to see Isaiah Banya, who's done a great job for us. Obviously, at stud, him playing some inside linebacker is going to be huge. He's a very athletic kid, can rush, can play, loves football. You're going to see Brandon Hawkins compete there. You're going to see Andrew Simpson compete there. And we're going to obviously find different packages and roles to get the best guys on the field. But you're going to see, especially early in camp, a lot of different guys there to compete.
What about Isaiah Banya comfortable moving into that position?
We always look at our roster on and see, okay, who are our best guys, right? In all personnels, all packages, how can we get guys in certain situations where we can raise the competition? Because that's what we're all about on this team is compete. I don't want anybody, if they've been a 3-year starter walking into this year, to think that anything's going to be given to them. And so looking at Isaiah, especially with his hamstring from spring, didn't get a lot of reps. He was a guy that was always on our mind. And seeing some of the depth we have at edge, seeing a guy with Riley Wimpy leaving, his athletic ability, how explosive he is. We blitz our will linebacker a lot. So he was a guy that we're excited just to see compete there this fall camp. And I believe he can do it.
And you mentioned before Riley Wimpy. Zeke knows he's very much the old man in that room now. How does that affect your expectations for him?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, Zeke, DJ, and Brandon have been here the longest, and it's cool seeing them really step in that leadership role. Riley was really that guy last year, not only for the linebackers, but for our whole defense. And so seeing Zeke, seeing DJ Schramm, Brandon Hawk really step into the role, not just football, but how they prep, how you got to take care of your body to be successful. It's cool seeing them not only bring the linebackers along, but the rest of our defense too. So but this is going to be a big year for Zeke and seeing him really take a step in his leadership with Riley Wimpy being gone.
Tyreek Jones moving him down to nickel.
Mhm.
What was kind of went into that, and then kind of the competition and safety.
Yeah. The move with Tyreek Jones going to nickel, the nickel is such an important part of our defense. Obviously, every single position in our defense is important, but the nickel, everything really goes through him and how we disguise, how he can show, and especially if you have the right versatile guy, because you need to be able to blitz, you need to be able to cover, and you need to be able to play a lot of different spots. He can be in the box, he can be covering their best receiver. And so looking at Tyreek Jones, his savviness, how well he knows his defense, and his command on the field. He's one of the best leaders on our defense. And so his command, and we can do a lot. The defense is built around how savvy that guy is. Obviously being able to make plays, but how to stem an alignment, how to show one thing, do another. And so looking at Tyreek Jones is the best fit for our defense in playing nickel. And so then across the board, there's going to be a lot of competition, even at nickel, but especially boundary safety, field safety. JL being the starter boundary safety. At field safety, we're going to have a couple different guys compete throughout fall camp.
What do you see with Rodney and Shea?
Mhm. Yep, so field safety, we'll have Shea Oladipo, we'll have Rodney Robinson. I think Zion Washington's done some really good things. Keenan McCaddy's a freshman that in the future will be a really good player for us. And so there's going to be a couple different guys that compete at the field safety, and especially field safety and boundary safety. We do have some a lot of swing there as well. So we've looked at it throughout the whole summer, leaving spring and then throughout the whole summertime was, okay, who are our best guys to this point, and then how can we create competition across all levels, up front, level 1, level 2, level 3, and then that's where these moves have occurred. And then who are our true best 11? Okay, after that, what are our best 11 in this personnel? Okay, let's plan that all out, and it's all about getting obviously the right guys in the right spots to make plays, and then how can we create competition where there's not one position on the field where someone could roll out fall camp and be like, I got this thing handled.
Cornerback might be the biggest position on the roster. Who do you like? Maybe throw out some names, and how do you want to see that play out?
Yeah. I think just seeing what Caleb Biggers has done, obviously when he stepped into a starting role last year, how he has worked throughout winter, spring ball, summer. I'm very excited about what he has potential to do as long as he stays on that track. And he doesn't say much, but he absolutely works his tail off. And you know what you're going to get from Caleb Biggers. He's going to be ready to compete. And so I'm very excited where he's going. And he's done a great job, once again, showing guys what it takes to be successful. It's not just rolling out on the practice field. There's a lot of work from the meeting room to how you prep your body to be ready to do that. And he's done an awesome job so far. Obviously, has to continue to keep it up. I'm excited to get Markel Reed back and healthy. He brings a lot just to the whole cornerback room. He brings a lot to our whole defense. And getting him back in the rotation, getting him playing is going to be awesome for our defense. Jalen Clark had a really good spring. Young guy, long, loves football, and seeing his growth. And Coach Warren's done a great job with him. I think we're going to see some really good things from Jalen Clark, and his body type really fits our defense, especially the cornerback position. Tyreek LeBuff had a good spring, and he's worked his tail off this summer too. So those four guys have been competing a ton throughout summer, especially with Markel being out and now cleared. Tyreek LeBuff has been able to get a lot of reps, and he's grown a ton.
How do you keep four quarterbacks happy? Play what you play, win football games you should need to keep four guys happy in the rotation. That's tough.
Yeah, the biggest thing is, and I keep coming back to the same thing, is competition. Like, there's a lot of guys come in my room, and I tell them this depth chart is a seating chart. If you look at that and think, oh, I'm a starter, or I'm the number 2, or I'm the third guy up, that's not how I want it. This is just how we get guys reps so we can compete. And we tell them that way. Day one, guys, this is a seating chart. This is just a way for us to divvy up reps, but this is not set in stone by any means. We're looking at everything, how they handle individual, one-on-ones. Obviously, guys that have played a lot and done a lot for us, they have built up equity. But there's going to be competition across the board. So at the cornerback position, same thing. Regardless where you are at in that depth chart to start fall camp, it's up to you and how you perform and how you do everything that could either change that for better or for worse for your situation. But really building it into all our guys, it doesn't matter who's in front of you, behind you. If you show up to work and you do what you should, from the meeting to how you prep to all these things we hit them through, you're going to create yourself a situation you want to, because we have different packages. We don't just have, this is just one group of 11 guys. We have a lot of different packages on this defense to find the right guys to put them on the field depending what we're seeing.
You mentioned 4 different guys at the weak side linebackers. Just looking at them and seeing them play, I would think they all have different strengths.
Yes.
Can you kind of change the feel of what you want on the field by maybe who's out there at that spot?
Oh, absolutely. And all of them have different strengths, and obviously all of them have different weaknesses, just like any position on defense. And so for us, it's finding, okay, what can our guys do the best? Obviously, and that goes for any position. If there's a certain guy and he doesn't do blank well, then we're going to try not to put him in those situations. So for us as a defensive staff is looking at, okay, what are these guys doing well now? What can we grow them to do well come season? And what is something that we just can't use at this point? Could be schematically, could be a fundamental or a technique, and looking at that, because like everyone has a different skill set. Some of them are the same, but some of them can do something different.
How do you feel about the D-line?
Excited about our D-line and our depth. Coach Miley's done a really good job building that, especially bringing in the guys we brought in mid-year. So we're able to get Braxton Feely, J.J. Tallis, some of these younger guys that usually you bring in June. Having them graduate early has been awesome, and especially not losing anybody up front. I'm excited to see those guys and the depth we have, and then being able to put them in different situations is going to be big.
You mentioned competition in every position. It's hard to imagine J.L. Skinner not starting this year.
Mm-hmm.
So given that, where can he improve on the field?
100%. And for me, it's all about your mentality. It's not just because the guy behind me might beat me out. As an elite competitor, first and foremost, you have to compete with yourself, because it's not about the outside. It's compete with myself. Regardless of a team we're playing, we're going to compete at the same level, right? That's what we're trying to train our guys to understand. So even some of our players that have played a lot, like J.L. Skinner, it's competing with himself. It's, J.L., this is where you need to grow. This is from a stance to a key to a disguise to a finish. And we've been with him all the way from January to now. J.L., this is about you. This is about the things that you need to grow to be the elite guy that you want to be, because he wants to. Now it's all right, J.L., this is how you truly compete with yourself. These are the things you need to grow in. So from obviously all the way from the start of summer to now, he's been working on those things. And all the way from fall camp 1 to when we're finished, we're going to be on him about competing with himself to grow these areas he needs to. And if he does, he's going to put himself in a great situation.
What are all those areas where he needs to improve?
A lot of the things, and it goes for the whole back end, is him stepping in, A, to a leadership role, and 2, just the details of everything. And he's grown a ton in it. And he could sit up here right now and teach you our whole defense. Then it's, okay, when you're on the field, how do you, because they set the whole umbrella. The safeties, at the end of the day, if they're wrong, what usually happens? Usually a touchdown, right? Someone's wrong up front, usually no one will notice because linebackers will tackle it off. If the safeties are wrong, it's a touchdown. So we talk about setting the umbrella. Their communication sets everything. And so for him, he's grown a ton on that. Him, Tyree Jones, the 2 leaders in the back end, they set the whole thing. And then for him, it's the intricacies of your position. Okay, you did some good stuff. Now, how do we go from that to being elite? And it's the little things from the pre-snap. Where are they out in the field? What are some tells that my man's doing and the discipline to do it day in and day out?
You get pretty well-known freshmen, Rajon Tatum, Sean Lisa, in your room. When you bring them into this program right away, what are the things you're trying to instill in them these first couple months?
No, great question. The biggest thing I try to instill in freshmen is the fact that understand that this is a process. Because you come from high school, and every single one of the players that come here was the guy at their high school, right? They were the best player. They were all these things. Then you go into a situation where you look at the seating chart or the depth chart right away. You're like, I'm 6th on the depth chart. And you look, so you start getting over, am I ever going to play? Am I ever going to make it? So I just try and, as a whole staff, guys, there's a process. Everybody started right where you're at. And how you handle that is, and I tell them that the only thing I'm asking for as a freshman is be early and have a good attitude. If you can do that, then little by little, you're going to grow, you're going to learn, and you're going to put yourself in the situation you need to be. Don't get caught up on things you can't control. Be early, have a good attitude. And then after that, be a great listener in meetings. If you do that little by little, you're going to put yourself in a situation where all of a sudden you're the guy.
Depth is more than just bodies, right?
Correct, 100%.
Do you feel like this year your competitive depth is as good as it's been? I mean, especially probably in the secondary, but everywhere with linebacker, I would say. Do you feel like your competitive depth is as good as it's ever been?
No, it's a good question. I feel like we've got dependable depth in a lot of good spots in our defense, especially going from winter through spring, through summer, and watching our guys operate and watching them grow in the things that they've done well, but more importantly, grow in the things that we didn't do as well, either them personally or us as a defense. And so you look at our defense in regards to who we have, who's coming back. You feel we do have dependable depth. Now it's how can we continue to even grow that? Because we know how this is the run of a football season. You need everybody. And so building that in our guys, and I think there is a fine line on defense between that's what we talk about, that humble and hungry, because I want our guys to have a good swagger about themselves where they're very confident. But confidence is built from preparation. And that's built over time where you grow yourself to where when you go on a field, you're confident that I can do the job I'm called to do because I've prepped myself to do it. And I think we have guys that have done that. We've had guys do that in games, and now it's us as a coaching staff fine-tune those little details, because on defense, those little details are either going to help you or they're going to score touchdowns against us. And I joke with our defense, we can't punt. You get something bad happens, it's not like, oh, shoot, let's go, let's try something different next time. That's a touchdown. And living on that razor's edge and teaching our guys to live on that razor's edge is the mentality on defense.
Dimitri Washington's such an interesting career because he played a little bit early, then the COVID year happened, and I felt like all last year he was just trying to play catch up from his injuries. Andrew said he's penciled in to be the edge. So how excited are you to see what he's capable of and what is he capable of?
Jay, I am so excited for Dimitri Washington. The work he's put in, and you're 100% right, coming off the ACL that he tore against Air Force in 2020 and really getting cleared kind of right before fall camp and going through the season, still going through a lot. You can even tell in those early couple games, he's not moving the way we know Dimitri can move. And seeing him finish last year, seeing him go through how he trained through this whole progression that we go through, I'm very excited for Dimitri. As long as he keeps at it, he should be a force to reckon with on the edge. Very smart, very savvy, and can do all the things we need him to do, run and pass game. Yes, 100%. Yes. Dimitri can attack you in the pass rush game. He can set edges in the run game. Obviously, there's still things that he needs to work on growing, and we're doing it every single – we're literally working in a walkthrough earlier today. But
he has potential to be a nightmare for offenses on mixed downs as well as on third downs if he continues to grow the way we want him to through fall camp. And especially with all these guys is how they take care of their body throughout fall camp and the work we're putting them through.
I was looking at some old videos back when COVID, you had hyped him up pretty good. But,
Mhm.
you know, after Curtis was leaving,
Yeah.
you said he had a chance to be the next, you know, Curtis Weaver type guy and one of the top guys on the West Coast, maybe a high draft pick. I mean, with all that Jay's talking about, you know, stuff, injuries, like, can he get back to that level? Or?
No, that's a good question. I don't look at it so much of where he's going to be in regards to NFL draft and some of those, BJ, that I do know for a fact that where he's grown himself to, he has potential to be an impact player for us. And seeing what he does in the run game, seeing what he does in the pass game, and the versatility we can do with him because of how smart he is and how savvy he is and how much he lives in the film room, he can be a big-time productive player for us. What that turns into for him when he's done here, I can't answer that, but I am very excited about what he can do on the edge for us. And I talk with our offense, and they really say a lot of the same things. Because I like picking their brain like, hey, we really feel this way about one of our defensive players. How do you guys see him? Because they're going against him a lot of these times in spring and summer and fall camp. So I'm excited about Dimitri. He's a guy that you can't not root for him because he works his tail off. He does everything you ask. And when someone does all these things, you want him to be successful. You want to fine tune the things he needs to so he can achieve these things.
You know, in terms of like the other side, you lose Shane Irwin. I know you touched on it a little bit, but who do you think, whether it's Cortez and George, who all's in the mix on the other side?
Yeah, the two guys are going to be a main competition there. Start out will be George and Cortez at the field side end. Breaks my heart about Shane, and just I will say this too, of guys that know Shane Irwin, one of my favorite young men I've ever met or coached, one of the toughest guys I've ever met, and I truly believe that whatever he does next in life, he'll be successful. But he was a big loss in regards to his leadership and his play on the field. And so excited to see Cortez, excited to see George compete at that field side end position.
You've been here obviously for a while now.
Yeah.
Andy talks about, you know, kind of reestablishing some things
Mhm.
that you wanted to go to work on. What did you kind of notice and how the players take into some of that stuff?
100%. I would say, and there's a lot to answer that question in all different facets. The biggest thing that I've seen over the past, let's say 6 months, is just how our guys respond and how they compete. And us as a staff doing a good job with putting in those situations all the time. Because you can't responding in football is what you have to do at all times. No game ever goes, all right, first play is going to be this, second play, and you just don't go in order ever. And so putting them in situations, and Coach Avalos and Coach Kagi did a great job over the summertime, just continually putting our guys in situations where, okay, this isn't what you thought was going to happen. How are you going to react? How are you going to respond? Are you going to respond negatively, or are you going to attack what's waiting for you? And that's really where I've seen our team take a big step. In regards to how our leaders step up, in regards to our guys with their mentality, where they're not shook by those things because it's trained. Because just like anything, I can put a PowerPoint up here and show you guys, all right, guys, this is what we're going to be on defense. But until you see it and until you train it, it's just words. It's just a PowerPoint. It's just words on a page. So seeing our guys and put them in these certain situations where they're in the weight room and all of a sudden there's a competition, who can hold the pull-up bar the longest, whatever it might be, but they're always in flux to know, okay, be ready to respond at a moment's notice. Because on defense, that's what it is. Hey, there's a turnover, there's an interception, bad field position. It doesn't matter. How are you going to respond, and how are you going to get out there, get that ball back for our offense? That's what we do. And training our guys, it's not something that you can just hype them up for game one. It's trained through winter, through spring, through summer. So seeing our guys go through that and the plan we've had for them, I'm excited to see that in action going forward. The thing that excites me the most about fall camp, Jay, is, and I apologize, guys, I'm beating a dead horse of the competition, but that's what I love about it. I love it because, and I tell our guys this is the time of year where everybody's tweeting, oh, everyone's counting me. Like, this is the time for everybody to kind of hype themselves up a little bit. And I love fall camp because I tell our guys, like, that's not going to be us. This is the time where you put your money where your mouth. This is the time where, hey, lie in the weeds, and now you go put the work in to actually do what matters come the fall. Because preseason awards, you talk with our guys, it's cool, it's awesome for them. At the end of the day, you don't care about that. You want the postseason award. That's what you've been working your tail off. So I love fall camp to see all the work these guys have done when no one was around, when it's 20 degrees outside in the winter and these guys are grinding. running decks, nobody's around, working in the dark. I love fall camp because you can start to see things get fine-tuned for the moment when people are now watching come September.
You said you guys have been trying to get guys in situations where it's like, okay, this isn't what you're expecting. How are you going to respond?
Mhm.
Can you give a couple examples of how you do that?
I mean, it's countless. I mean, it was throughout, and Coach Avalos, Coach Kagi, there is not one training day where everything was just exactly kind of in a schedule laid out for them. So it could be they start a lift. Okay, we're going to start here. Then all of a sudden a competition was thrown at them. Could be something in a team run where, all right, we're going to start with this drill, and it was something different. Or instead of, when they're out in the field, instead of just going on one whistle to start a sprint, it could be we're going to go on 3. All right, instead of on 3 whistles, we're going to go on 2 hand claps. So you build in the mental competition side of it too to strengthen your mind, because that's where competition starts with yourself, and it starts with competing with yourself mentally. So finding just little ways to build into our guys to where it's never just the same old, because you have to respond to a different situation that you weren't prepared for. You're prepared in how you respond.
What has Ron Collins brought to the staff since he joined us?
Man, it's just, he's been an awesome guy just for our whole staff, me personally, our whole staff, just to be able to pick his brain. He's coached a ton of football, one of the best human beings I've ever been around. His wife Sharon's, they're just awesome people. But he's been a huge help for me in regards to, hey, how do you see this situation? Are you seeing this the same way? Whatever it might be. Could be 2-minute, could be third down. And he's also going to be a big help for us in regards to opponent scout and breaking down opponents and seeing the best way to attack these offenses we're seeing this coming fall.
Zeke has played a lot of football, came back for 6 years,
Mhm.
decided to take the coach. What are your expectations for him, and where do you think he can be better?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited for Zeke. Obviously, very excited that he came back for his last season. And just like I mean, he's been through a lot of injuries here. He's torn his ACL twice. He's been through a lot of different things, and excited for him to have had an off season, to go through this, stay healthy, how he preps his body. And since I've known Zeke for a long time, it's cool to see him grow year in and year out. And just like a lot of these guys, kind of to Jay's first question, why I love fall camp, because I'm excited to now see him, 1, put that on display, and 2, see him grow from practice 1 to when we're done and working into season. But I'm excited for him to step up in how he is as a leader, how he communicates on the field, and how he takes ownership of that front out there on the field. And he has done that. Now I'm excited to see him continue to do that.
A guy like Brandon Hopkins.
Mhm.
How determined is he that now that he might have an opportunity for him to win it?
No doubt. And I love Brandon Hawkins. He's a phenomenal young man, works his absolute tail off. And that's what we try and breed in from our older guys to our younger guys, is just regardless what age you're at, you've got to show up every day, be ready to compete. And that's the part about, and I tell our players, the hardest part about our job is at the end of the day, we have to make the decisions that's obviously based for our players, or best for our players. But at the end of the day, it's what's best for this football team, what's best for this defense. So especially when you go into a fall camp for a guy who's been here for that long, I'm excited to see him compete, and I'm excited to see all these guys compete. And he is a phenomenal teammate. And seeing him even help some of the younger guys that he's competing with, that just shows the mentality that he has. And that's not common. It's not common for a guy who knows that this guy has potential to beat me out because we're competing, but I care about him. He's my brother. I'm a part of this family. So I'm going to help him grow because he's one of the smartest football players on this team. And so him teaching some of these younger guys has been awesome to see.
I know this is a dangerous question to ask you, but in terms of the loudest voices, in your defensive room right now, who are the guys that are going to have to carry you through fall camp in terms of, holding up the accountability, all that stuff? Who do you feel like you're going to hear your loudest voices right now?
Yeah, I would say the loudest voice on our team, because there are a lot of really good leaders on our defense that aren't the loudest voice, right? They lead more with their actions or on the field. I would say the 2 that come to mind the most would be Tyreek Jones and Scott Matlock. Will be the 2 that would have the loudest voice in regards to speaking to our unit or speaking to individuals on the field. I would put Dimitri Washington also in that group. And there's a couple other guys that come to mind as well that will be guys that will grab a smaller group. But if we're talking just the top loudest voices, I would say Tyreek Jones and Scott Matlock will be the 2 ones that come to mind.
When you see Jones moving to the nickel, what do you think he's going to bring to that position? Maybe that's different than what Nicala had last year. What makes him the guy that you think you're moving somebody from doing a really good job at safety to the nickel?
Yeah, similar to BJ's question, Tyreek Jones with his length, with his savviness, 6'1", about 200 pounds, 6'1" and change, about 200 pounds. We're gonna have a bigger body at nickel, but he does give you a ton of versatility because he can cover, he can blitz, and we can switch him and he can go to the post. So there's just a lot of different things, and especially him playing field safety, the nickel and the field safety do everything together. They're our field side, and so them playing hand in hand. So not only is he going to help lead the competition that happens at field safety with some of our younger guys, he's going to give us a ton of versatility with some of the things we can do schematically on the field because of the football IQ he plays with.
Andy mentioned that he's got a little banged up to start this thing. So who else is the nickel that's going to have to rise to the occasion?
Yeah, so with Tyreek being out the first couple of days, he's banged up. We're going to have a couple guys from field safety even play. You'll see Shea Oladipo kind of come back there like you saw him in spring, play some nickel. You're going to see Zion Washington. You're going to see Roman Kafensis now that he's getting healthy, getting back in the mix. So we're going to kind of platoon that as we go through fall camp because the same techniques that a field safety uses, those are the same techniques nickel uses. And that's really across the board for our defense. The techniques we teach them, there's dual training. So even if a will linebacker for some reason ever had to go play nickel, the techniques that we're teaching are the same. So they're not going to go into one room and hear what a strong hook is and it'd be different in another room. We do that so that we can have multiple position groups moving around and create competition.
Maybe JL's so unique that he doesn't need this. But, I mean, you follow anybody that's talking about the 2023 NFL draft and his name comes up. How do you guys approach that with him? And I don't know whether it's removing the pressure of that or what it might be, but how do you guys approach that with a guy like JL?
With JL and even, with other guys in our defense that are getting some of that, just like we've done in the past, we talk to a lot of our guys about outside noise and just how to handle it. And two, just them understanding that, hey, you've worked to put yourself in this situation. I always like to tell them, like, hey, this is, you've worked your tail off to put yourself in this situation. Now, if you let the outside noise, you let some pats on the back get to where you take your foot off the gas and you don't work like you were a freshman, you're never going to achieve what you want to achieve. And then you're going to live in regret. So we try and be as upfront with them and knowing that, hey, these are awesome things that are happening, but we also know that it means nothing. Because at the end of the day, you got to still grow in all these areas we've talked through, and you got to go put on film, or else all these things people are talking about are not going to come true. So at the end of the day, I tell them, appreciate it, be thankful, live in gratitude, live in grace. But at the end of the day, it's about you working your tail off for the postseason awards, because all these other things, and we all know, guys, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. If we don't go out there and perform every single rep and grow the way we need to through fall camp, it doesn't matter. So trying to get them to see that, and then also trying to be intentional with family members and people who are around these players, because that's where they get it a lot too. It's not just maybe media. It could be friends, family that are constantly – if everyone's telling you how great you are, and this is now or even years past, we got to be very intentional to make sure they know this is where we need to grow. Because if we get caught up in patting ourselves in the back, you're going to get caught slipping real quick. Appreciate it, guys. Thank you. God bless you guys.